Okay, so we're going to try this again. The first video I tried making of the Queen Castle here tapped out on my camera, or my phone actually ran out of storage, ran out of memory space, so I was about 2 minutes in and it just shut off. Anyway, I just want to show this to you guys. This is not original. This was not I don't think completely my design. I'm sure someone else has done it, although I basically just modified other designs that I'd seen. It's very simple, but I wanted to share it with you guys, to people that are looking to build some Queen Castles. This is, excuse my cough, this is all the same dimensions as a Langstroth deep box, 10 frame deep. The only exception is that the height from top to bottom is an extra 1/8 of an inch, and the reason for that is so that when you set your frames in there, your frames naturally would hang about an 1/8 to a 1/4 inch off the bottom of the box. Now on a standard hive, you have a bottom board down here that gives you plenty of space, so there's no risk of crushing bees when you slide a frame in. On the top of that frame, between the edge of the box and the top of the frame, you have about an 1/8 of an inch, and then on your inner covers here, you have a 1/4 inch gap, so when you lay an inner cover flat on top of your hive body, like that, you have 3/8 of an inch between the bottom of your plywood here and the top of the frame. So that gives you your bee, your bee space. However, like I said, with the Queen Castle, you don't get that bee space underneath because your frame is not sitting above another hive body, and it's not sitting above a bottom board. So you cut your box an extra 1/8 to 1/4 inch tall to make sure there's plenty of space on the bottom of the frame. God forbid you pull out a frame and you're looking at the queen and she crawls across the bottom of the frame right as you drop it in and you crush it. So you don't want that to happen. Give yourself some extra space. Now to make the end boards here, again, this is the exact same length as a Langstroth. It's a hair taller. This kerf is the same as a Langstroth. It's 3/8 of an inch deep into here, and it's 5/8 of an inch tall. And again, that's 5/8 of an inch. You end your ear here on your frame is a 1/4 inch roughly. I'm sorry, half an inch. So when you slide it in and set it on that kerf, which I've got my lid in here, when you slide it in and you set it on the kerf, that gives you roughly an 1/8 of an inch right there, okay? Now, to make the end boards, like I say, it's the same as a Lang, except for the height. And then I measured this out, and it's exactly 4 3/4 inches inside to inside on each section, here and here and here. I've seen designs where people will make a 10 frame deep become a 4-chamber Queen Castle. I don't know how they do it. I tried it. I measured it. I even got down to the detail of using a pair of digital calipers, and it just wasn't possible. If you used a piece of 1/8 inch plywood, maybe you could get away with it. This is 3/4. Not 3/4. This is 1/4 inch plywood. But anyway, so what I did was I measured just, what my inside, from the inside of this wall to the inside of this wall, what that was. I took off a 1/2 inch for each one of these. These are 1/4 inch here, 1/4 inch here, so just subtract off a 1/2 inch and then divide by 3, and it came out to exactly 4 3/4. So that made it easy. So to cut this kerf in here, this is a 1/4 inch kerf by 3/8 of an inch deep, all the way across. And so I just set my rip fence on my table saw to, I guess it'd be 5 3/4 inches to the outside, and that way the end of the board here butts up against my rip fence, and that makes it 5 3/4 inches, or shoot, I don't know, 5.5. Anyway, measured out, set it so that my 1/4 inch dado blade was on the outside or on the inside. I can't remember exactly how I did it, but the point being, it's not 4 3/4 center to center. It's 4 3/4 inside to inside. So keep that in mind however you set up your rip fence, or if you just use a 1/4 inch router bit, excuse me, router bit or whatever. Just keep that in mind. But it should be exactly 4 3/4. That results in 3 chambers that each comfortably hold 3 frames. You're not squeezing anything, but you're also not so overspaced that you're really going to violate your bee space too much. For the entrance holes, this is just a 1 inch round hole drilled. So this entrance hole on this side gets access to this chamber. The entrance hole on the end here gets access to your middle chamber. And then on the outside chamber here, you can see there's another entrance hole down there. So that way you've got all 3 entrance holes to each individual chamber. These dividers slide all the way down to the bottom and fit snug, so there's no bees going through underneath. That way there's no communication. And then you just drop in your 3 frames here, just like that. Like I said, you can see they fit good. They're not too tight. They're not overly spaced. And then you just take your piece of 1/4 inch plywood here as well, lay it on top, and that's it. You don't have to have an inner cover because this is not, the bees are not getting up here and accessing. They will glue this down from the inside as is natural. But you know, I gave myself a little bit of wiggle room on it so that I can get my hive tool in here and pop it out when I need to. Another thing to note is that this lays flat on top of your frame, so it will certainly get glued down because there's no bee space above your frame. So if your bees move about through the hive, their only option is to go down and under the frames. They can't go over top like they can in a normal scenario. Then for the handles, this is just simple. I got this from the Fat Bee Man. I appreciate it. 3/4 inch wide dado by 3/8 of an inch deep. Once your box is built, you just slowly, and I emphasize slowly, lower it onto your dado blade while it's running. Make sure you're careful so that it doesn't kick the box at you. And then once you're all the way down and flush, then just slide your box away from me. Just slide it away like that, and it will cut your groove for your handle. It works just fine. It gives you plenty of finger grip to get underneath there and pick it up. And you don't have to spend all the time to make the fancy little half moon shaped Langstroth handles. So anyway, I think that summarizes it pretty good. I know I didn't do the best job of explaining it, but I just wanted to show you the design. Like I said, I think most Queen Castle designs will show you a 4-chamber hive, and I don't know how that's possible. But I like the 3-chamber. It's really comfortable spacing, and it was really easy to build. It did take me probably several hours to build the first one because I was spending time, you know, making the calculations and figuring all up how to work. But once you get it figured out, make as many cuts as you can without your dado. Try to make all your cuts possible that you can with just your regular rip blade. And then swap out for your 3/4 inch dado. You can do all your cuts with your 3/4 inch dado, even this one, even though it's only 5/8 of an inch deep and not 3/4. You still do it because 5/8 is less than 3/4. So just compensate for that extra 1/8 of an inch whenever you set your rip fence on your saw. So you don't have to change out for a 5/8 inch dado. You can do it with your 3/4. I'm trying to remember if there's any other special features to point out. The corner joints, they're just a lap joint here. You can see they're not a box joint. I don't have a box joiner. I did buy a dovetail joiner, but I don't have a box joiner. But this lap joint works just perfectly fine. It's just overlap them, put a couple staples through it. These are 1.5 inch staples to hold it together real good. Your bottom board is just a piece of 3/4 inch plywood. Nothing fancy about it, just staple it on there. I actually cut mine a 1/4 inch narrow, and that's because I'm cheap and I wanted to get 3 cuts out of one 4-foot wide sheet of plywood, and I was able to do that just by cutting it just a hair narrow, but it all still seals up tight. There's no gap. The bees aren't going to crawl out the bottom. So I think that answers it. If you're curious, that plywood, or that cedar wood, that's still some of that same big stack of cedar that I had. I'm trying to get it used up. I'm almost ashamed of myself to use something so beautiful for beehives, but I suppose the girls deserve a pretty house as much as I do. They work pretty hard for it. So anyway, like I said, if you have any questions, comment below. Let me know what you think. I'm going to try to put some more detailed dimensions in the comments, or maybe even see if I can model it up on Google SketchUp or make a hand sketch or something and see if I can find a way to put another video up with that link in it, or put a link, or I don't know, do something. But like I said, it's not difficult. You basically just build it to be the same size as the Langstroth deep. The important thing about that is that if I had to, I could pull out these dividers. They are removable. Well, this one's not pulling out because it's too tight, but this one will pull out, I know. But anyway, I can pull these out, and if I had to, I can make this just be a standard 10-frame Langstroth deep. So that's the extra bonus to making the same dimensions as a Langstroth. I suppose you could build a Langstroth medium Queen Castle if you wanted to. That might be something I do just for fun. But anyway, that's it for now. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. Let me know if you have questions. See ya.